Hey everyone, so Starfield just recently got a release date. Well, a new release date. You know how these games are, delays are basically just part of the marketing campaign these days. Anyway, Starfield will now be releasing on September 6th, 2023. I was thinking about this game and wanted to make a video about it because I think that this one has a pretty important role to play in Bethesda's legacy and, at the same time, may be a crucial element to Xbox's future. Keep in mind, these are just my thoughts and honestly might not end up meaning much. This isn't a video about whether or not the game will be good, but rather a discussion on how this game's reception may affect Xbox and Bethesda's image in the gaming industry. Okay, so first things first. Starfield is Bethesda's first new IP in over 25 years. 25 years! The last time Bethesda cooked up an original IP was like Elder Scrolls. I actually don't know for sure, to be honest. I spent like 20 minutes trying to find exactly what their last new IP was and couldn't find it. Regardless, 25 years is insane. There has been a longer gap in between new Bethesda IPs than I've been alive on this earth. Starfield was originally announced at E3 2018 and has quietly ramped up its marketing campaign as the game's development has progressed. Alright, so that sounds pretty cool. It's about time we get a new universe from Bethesda. So what exactly is Starfield? Farming simulator in space? Todd Howard, director of Bethesda Game Studios, has said that they've been working on this game since Fallout 4's release in 2015. With 8 years of development under their belt and 25 years since they've created something completely new and original, Starfield has the potential to become something really special. Here's what we know about the game's setting so far. Todd Howard has described the game as Skyrim in space. Great. As if Skyrim wasn't already on enough platforms, am I right?
Boo, you stink!
Starfield will take place in a distant galaxy in the year 2330. And this time, two factions, the Freestar Collective and the United Colonies, have begun battling in what Bethesda calls the Colony War. Apparently the game takes place 20 years after the war ends, but tensions are still high and I'm sure there's plenty more conflict to experience. You play as a customizable character who is part of a group of space explorers known as Constellation. You can choose from multiple factions to join, which I'm guessing will help shape your story in some way or another. There are the Space Pirates, known as the Crimson Fleet, a loose group of pirates who share the same banner. According to the trailers, if you join this group, the only way out is death. Then there is the Freestar Collective, the second strongest faction in the game and described by developers as having a space western fantasy aesthetic. Lastly, there is the United Colonies, the strongest faction of the three. It seems to be pretty territorial and has beef with the Crimson Fleet showing aggression towards their star systems. Developers have described this faction as the Space Republic, or the most stable one, it seems to me. So here are a couple things that I think we should pay attention to based on the first gameplay trailer we got. Todd Howard has described Starfield as their most ambitious game yet, and going off of what we've seen so far, it certainly seems like it.
To finally see Starfield. It's easily our most ambitious game ever. Like our previous games, it's an epic role-playing game where you get to be who you want and go where you want. But this time, you'll be exploring space. So let's jump right in.
The game is massive, with over 100 different star systems to discover, and each star system containing dozens of planets. Apparently, there are over 1,000 planets in the game. Now, I'm not sure every planet is going to be a fully detailed city or loaded with side quests, but I do think it's interesting to see the scope of this title. If I had to guess, I'd say a lot of planets are probably going to be procedurally generated, with select locations being more detailed as they contribute to the overall story. To back up this theory, Todd Howard describes some planets as barren but resource heavy, and others as Goldilocks planets brimming with life, so I kind of get a No Man's Sky vibe here. Speaking of No Man's Sky, Starfield also has a similar scanning and mining system. It looks as if the way we collect resources will be pretty familiar if you've played No Man's Sky. Then we get our first look at combat. In the mission from the gameplay trailer, we see the character fight some pirates at some sort of mining base or something, and it looks like typical Bethesda stuff. Enemies are bullet sponges, and We even get a look at the tried and true lock-picking system. It seems as if we can choose to play between first person and third person, which is also a Bethesda staple, but I'm curious to see how third person combat looks or if there's really any significant differences between first and third person gameplay. Then we see your spaceship. Looks pretty cool and apparently very customizable. According to the trailer, you can also build your own spaceship however you want and choose your crew members from NPCs you meet throughout the game. Apparently the ship is completely customizable, and these changes are not only cosmetic, but also change how the vehicle performs, whether that be faster speeds or stronger weapons. It looks as if the shipbuilding aspect is deep. When we get to space, we get our first glimpse of ship combat. It looks solid enough, but there's not a lot to go off of here. A couple of things that I asked myself when watching this is, we know you can fly, but I'm not sure how the takeoff sequence works. It looked like they used cutscenes in the trailer, so I don't know if you get to go from surface to space and vice versa like you can in No Man's Sky. Along with that, we only see space combat, so I'm not sure if we can fly our ship within a planet's atmosphere and battle there, or if it's only available in space. But the combat does look solid. Lastly, let's talk about what we know about the story. From what I've picked up, you are looking for artifacts that give you visions. As to what these visions show, I don't know. Not a lot was revealed in the trailer, but I'm sure we'll see more as we get closer to release. Character customization, like most Bethesda titles, is very in-depth. Todd Howard says this is the most detailed customization yet, and it certainly looks as if the player will have a lot of freedom to design the character however they want. Besides the physical appearance of the player, they can also choose skills that will provide pros and cons to their character's gameplay. We also get a glimpse of the traditional skill tree and a hint of Starfield's crafting system, since it's 2023 and every game has to have some sort of crafting in it, apparently. It looks like standard stuff: weapon upgrades, quality of life enhancements, base building. Whoa. The base building in this game looks kinda nuts. Similar to No Man's Sky again, it looks like you can build your base however you want, wherever you want. Bethesda also mentioned that you can hire your own crew to manage the base. I'm not sure if you can build multiple bases, but I would expect that to be a feature in a game filled with thousands of planets. Anyway, that's what we know so far. More information will be presented on June 11th with a specific Starfield Direct. Okay, that's honestly quite a bit of info. So, besides this game being the first new Bethesda IP in a quarter century, why should we care about this? Let's talk about Bethesda's side of the story first. For them, there's the obvious new IP that I've mentioned, but also, Bethesda has released a couple of controversial titles in recent years. Fallout 76 at launch was straight up doo-doo, and it's been a million years since we've gotten a new Elder Scrolls game. People are expecting something great from Bethesda this time around. Granted, they have released some other solid games, including Deathloop and Hi-Fi Rush, but Starfield is their in-house mega title, so this thing has to perform well. I'm sure there will be bugs at launch, as most Bethesda RPGs normally do, but the base gameplay and experience needs to be something special to really showcase why Microsoft spent over $7 billion acquiring them. Which brings me to my last point. What is Xbox's stake in this? Well, at E3 2021, it was announced that Starfield would be Xbox and PC exclusive.
Studios, a groundbreaking game. And yes, it's exclusive.
This is huge. Xbox isn't really known for their exclusives, so to see a major AAA title go exclusive to them is certain to shake up the industry. Bethesda has some seriously devoted fans, and Xbox is betting big on that fact to sell more consoles and Game Pass subscriptions. This is the first real test to see how successful their major Bethesda buy is. But there's more to this. Microsoft is currently in the process of purchasing Activision Blizzard. At the moment, Sony is trying to block this acquisition, believing that Microsoft would be hurting competition with such a major buy. And, to be fair, it is a major buy. Microsoft is bidding almost $70 billion to gain ownership of Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, Candy Crush, and honestly so much more. For context, Disney spent about $4 billion for Star Wars. Sony spent around $3.6 billion for Bungie, and Microsoft spent $2.5 billion on Mojang. Now, this is where I'm not sure what to think. On the one hand, if Starfield is a success, then it's a major win for Bethesda and Game Pass. On the other hand, if Starfield flops, then Xbox could point to its failure as proof that they're not as big and powerful as Sony is claiming them to be. After all, if you look at Xbox's lineup versus PlayStation's, it certainly doesn't seem as if Xbox has any major killer apps exclusive to their platform. So, I don't know what to think. There's a lot to unpack here. Maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of this than it really is, but it's just something that I was thinking about and something that I think is super interesting. Obviously, I want Starfield to be good, but I am also super interested to see what happens if it flops. I definitely prefer the former rather than the latter, but either way, this game's release will have a bigger impact on the gaming industry than I think a lot of us realize. What do you guys think? Are you excited about Starfield? What are your thoughts on Microsoft trying to buy Activision Blizzard? Do you think that they're overpaying by bidding like close to $70 billion, or do you think that that's a fair price to pay? After all, this is Microsoft's biggest purchase ever. Not just Xbox's biggest purchase, Microsoft. Anyway, I appreciate you guys listening to my 2 cents on this topic, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I appreciate you guys as always, and I will catch you in the next one.